All right, what's up? What's up? It's KG.codes here, aka Kelvin. I'm on here doing another coding challenge tonight. I know it's been a while, but I'm trying to get back into the grind, get back into the consistency of doing these coding challenges live. So tonight I'm gonna do another one. This is a medium one actually. You might think it's easy, you might think it's harder, but we'll see how it goes. So I give it a little minute for people to join in if they want to. Well, other than that, I'll probably get started with this LeetCode problem called removing stars from a string. This is a medium on LeetCode. I don't have LeetCode Premium anymore, so I don't know what companies this is for, but I did this one like a couple nights ago. Hey, Kelvin in Tech, what's up, man? What's going on? I did this one a couple nights ago. So I'm going to see if I can recall it and see if I can explain it to kind of help deeper my understanding of it. And hopefully it helps you guys learn something if you're watching it. So yeah, without further ado, I think I'm going to go ahead and try to get started with it. Yeah, let's get started. Let's jump into this thing. So this problem is called removing stars from a string. From LeetCode.com, it's a medium. And the problem goes as such, the problem definition. You are given a string S which contains stars, which is this star symbol. In one operation, you can choose a star in S, and in that same operation, you can remove the closest non-star character to its left, as well as remove the star itself. So I guess in a single operation, you can basically, if you find a star, I guess you can remove any regular character to the left of the star and then remove that star at the same time, which is kind of a weird thing to do, but that's the problem. So return the string after all the stars have been removed. So I guess it's some kind of like, yeah, you have like a piece of text here, and then as you remove the stars, it kind of changes the text, and you have to return what that changed text is going to be. So they have some notes here. The input will be generated such that the operations are always possible. So I guess there's no need to like handle the case when the string doesn't have stars or whatever the case may be. So it can be shown that the resulting string will always be unique. It can be shown that the resulting string will always be unique. I don't even know what that means. It can be shown that the resulting string will always be unique. Okay, whatever. So anyway, this example one has S, where it's LeetCode with 3 stars in it, and you get LeetCode performing the removals from left to right. So the closest character to first star is T. So yeah, you find the first star, and in one operation, you're able to, remove the non-star character to its left, the closest non-star character to its left. So when you run into the first star, the closest non-star character is the T. So they're saying they highlight the T here, and then the new string takes the T out, and the other thing you can do is remove the star itself. So the T and the star get removed to make this string, which has the T and the first star removed. And then you run into the second star, which that makes the closest non-star character to the left now the E. Then you can remove the E and that star, which gives you this new string. And then you run into this last star in the string, and the closest character, non-star character to the left is a D. And so then the new string becomes LeetCode. So, and then after that, you have no more stars, so you return LeetCode. So I guess it's kind of like a cool problem where you kind of like, based on the stars, you like, I don't know if it's cool, but based on the stars, you basically are like erasing the string. So like they got this example here, erase. If you have 5 stars, as you go through this, when you hit the first star, you remove the E. Then you hit the second star, you remove the S. You hit the third star, you move the A, and so on until it's an empty string. So the entire string is removed, so we return an empty string. So yeah, I hope that makes sense to people. Hopefully you understand what the problem is asking. It's basically saying process this string, process these stars, and get rid of non-star characters to the left of each star until you have no stars left. So yeah, this looks like that's how it goes. They have some constraints here. The string is always going to be guaranteed to have at least one character in it, and it's in between or equal to that one character to 1 or 10 to the 5th power, which is pretty high. So I don't know if there's anything like super notable to worry about there. String S consists of lowercase English letters and stars. I'm sorry. Okay, so it's all lowercase English letters. That's something to take note of. The operation above can be performed on S. So I'm guessing that means that you can change the string in place, but you don't have to. So yeah, I guess they're not putting any constraints around whether or not it can be done on it, but you don't have to do it on it. So these constraints are important in an interview, like to make sure that you know, because sometimes it matters, like how large the string is that you're dealing with, what the data set is of the possible characters you're dealing with. Those are things that can become important in an interview, and important depending on what language you're using, so that you don't run into like overflows with variables and things like that. So like I always like to do when I do these problems is kind of like think through how I would solve it in my head, or even write it down, or type it down first, and then try to take that solution and go through kind of my toolbox of like, okay, what things do I have in my toolbox I can use to solve this problem as I solved it in my head. And I see some people in the chat already got a couple solutions. Some people, I could tell some people are already used to doing these or already done them. But let's just go through it. Like I see Colin Tantam on TikTok has a great solution. But let's go through it. Just think through it as we're sitting here doing this. So, I mean, obviously it looks like we have a string that we need to process. So in my mind, I'm thinking at some point we need to loop through this string. So, or we need to go through each character of the string, which the solution to that would be to loop through the string, loop through each character of the string, and then perform some sort of operation on it. And what it's telling me to do is saying basically, in one operation, you can choose a star, so you can find a star, and you can remove the closest non-star character to the left, as well as remove the star itself. And then it's saying return the string after all stars are removed. So I don't even know why it says you can. It just seems like it wants you to do this. I don't know why it's saying you can. Or, I mean, it should just say you should, but whatever. So they want you to return the string after all the stars are removed. Or I'm guessing it's saying this is the only operation they're allowing you to do. You can, because I don't know. I guess that's how they're phrasing it. So anyway, like I'm thinking you loop through the string. When I hit the first star, that's when I need to perform my operation. I need to find this first star when I get to it. So loop through until I find the first star. And then I need to do something when I hit that first star. I need to remove that star itself, and I need to find and remove the closest non-star character to the left of that star itself. So, thinking about that, I mean, there's a number of ways I can do it. I can loop through the string, get to a star, and then write some more code that will delete this star out of the string I'm in, and go back and delete the last, like go back and search backwards and find the last non-star character and delete it. That's one way to think about it. But you have to think about, if you're looping through a string, how do you keep track of your indexes? How do you keep track of where you're at in the string if you're deleting stuff in the same string that you're looping through? So that can make it hard. And so then I think going through my toolbox, the next thing I would think about is like, if they're not preventing me from creating a second data structure to help me do this, then what other data structure would I use in order to try to do something like this? So the things that come to mind are a hash map or like an object in JavaScript that I could use to hold some sort of state that could help me solve this problem. The other thing is you could use a stack that could help you hold some sort of state that could help you solve this problem. And the thing is, one of the things that kind of clicked for me when I was doing this, I tried to do it for like 15 minutes. And then if I can't get a problem in 15 minutes, then I look up the answer. Because you shouldn't be sitting around for an hour trying to figure out that's kind of like the wrong way to do it. I used to do it like that. Like you just sit and try to figure it out and struggle with it for like 3-4 hours or whatever, an hour. Really, after like 15, like depending on the level of the problem, if it's an easy or medium, I think medium maybe 30 minutes, but like an easy, if after 15 minutes you can't figure it out, it's time to start learning and then going back and trying to do the problem later on, or trying to do different problems that are related to it after you kind of build up the muscle. But anyway, when I looked at this, I really didn't know what to do, but like I was trying to think of like how to do the string in place and fix it. But then I started like looking at this like sideways, like if you flip this vertically, I started looking at it as the string's like building upon itself, and I need to kind of like go backwards one and basically like take the last thing off of the string once I get to a star. And then I was thinking about like, can I just rewrite the string inside of another data structure? Like how can I rewrite the string without the stars in it and without those characters I need to delete every time I see a star? And the thing that it made me think of is like, if I want to rewrite this, I can just, every time I see a letter, I can just put it in another data structure. And then when I see a star, I know I don't need to put the star in the data structure, but I need to take out the last thing I put in the data structure. And the best data structure that lends itself to that is, like somebody said in the comments, is a stack, which is a lot of people are saying in the comments, is a stack. So I know I talked through all that, but like everybody ain't on the same level. So I know some people know that off the top of their head, but you know, everybody's not on the same level in knowing that. So hopefully this is helpful to some people. But if you already know it, you already know it. But yeah, so that's how you could work your way to that solution if you have been practicing. Like there's no way around it. You need to know your data structures. You need to have something in your tool belt to get to that point, to think like that. But once you do, then you can kind of use some critical thinking skills to get to that. And so what I plan to do here is recreate the string I want, the modified string inside of a stack. And so every time I see a letter, then I just put it in the stack. Once I see a star, of course the stars don't go in the stack, but then I can pop the last character off the stack. And that would eventually lead to only having the remaining characters besides the ones that got taken away because there was a star there. So basically these stars basically erase the characters in front of them in a certain kind of way. So yeah, let's go to code. I mean, I don't think there's anything else to do with this besides to move to the code. So let's move to the code side. So in LeetCode, I'm going to use JavaScript. That's my kind of language of choice for this. LeetCode, I don't know if you've ever used it before. It kind of scaffolds out the function for you. You might not always get this in an interview. And also in the interview, you may need to ask questions. Like you may not get that whole explanation that we got. Like sometimes the explanation's vague on purpose because they want to make you handle some ambiguity in the interview. So they may not tell you that you can, they might not tell you this part, like the resulting string will always be unique, or they might not tell you that the input will always have a possible solution. They may not tell you, especially these things down here, these constraints. So you might have to ask the interviewer some of these things to clarify their problem. And they might not tell you like they may tell you that you can't use another data structure. They might want you to change S in place and not use any extra data structures. So they didn't say that here, so I'm going to use the extra data structure. So let's start the solution. Let's jump into it. So the first thing that I want to do, like I said, is create a stack. So I guess I can just call this stack. And in JavaScript, basically you can create a stack. An array is basically can be used as a stack, as the same data structure. It has the pop, it has a push method, push function, pop function. Can basically be used the same way as a stack. And so then the other thing I said is that we need to process the string, which is S in this case. And so for that, I want to use a loop, and I basically want to look at each character of that string. And so as I loop through the string here, S, this will get every character out. So if you're new to programming in general, like that example would be like, I'm going through this string, LeetCode. The first loop that I go through, the first operation would pull out the L. The second operation it would set it to char, and then the second operation will pull out the E and set it to char. I know that's pretty simple for most people here, but hey, we got to start from. But everybody's on different levels. We got to start from basic levels too. So I'm getting the char out, and so then what did I say I was gonna do? Let's actually put like the example up here. It was like this, LeetCode, and then for new people joining, I'm gonna put the whole problem over here, so people can see it. Sorry, I know this taking a little bit of time, but I just like new people joining, they can be able to see what the actual problem is that I'm working on. So, and I'm gonna take this out so you can see it a little easier. So then this is gonna be like my input that I'm thinking through, and so I know I'm gonna loop through. Char is first gonna get set to L, and so here I need to check basically am I running into a lowercase letter, English letter character, or am I running into a star? And so the easiest way for me to check that is just to check if char is a star. That's the easiest way to check that. Because I don't want to have to check like, is it an alpha, is it a number, is it this? If it's I already know from my constraints, and that's why constraints are perfect. I'm not perfect. That's why constraints are. You need to take them into account when you're interviewing or doing these problems, is because this is basically telling me that S will always be lowercase English letters and stars. So I don't have to worry about other stuff. So I basically can just say if it's a star, then if it's not a star, then it's a lowercase English letter. So I can kind of guarantee that, and that's part of the constraints of the problem. So that's why it's important to ask for the constraints or read the constraints or whatever the case may be. Okay, so what do I need to do if it's a star? So if it's let's go the other way, because this is making me think of it easier. What do I do if it's not a star? So if it is a star, I want to do something right here to do. And if it's not a star, like I said, if it's not a star, I just want to push it into my stack, because I'm kind of rebuilding the new string that I want in my stack. So if it's not a star, then I want to take stack, and JavaScript has a push function to push into a stack or push into an array. I want to push the character into that array, and so that will start to populate as I loop through this. None of these first 4 characters are stars, so they will all get pushed into my stack. So it will be like basically all that will get pushed into the stack as this code runs. And so then I would hit my first star here, and then what I want to do there is I don't want to put the star into the stack, because the problem said that that you should remove the stars when you see them. And so since I'm rewriting the string in another structure, I don't have to remove it per se, but I just need to skip it. But the other thing it says I need to do is go back to the first string character and remove it. But since I'm rebuilding in a stack and I'm never putting stars in, I know that the last character is always it's a non-star because I'm never adding stars into my stack, if that makes sense. So I already know what nothing in my stack will ever be a star because I'm never putting the star. I'm only stacking up real characters. So in this case, what I can do is pop the last thing on the stack, because the last thing on the stack will always be some sort of character I put in. And so then by the time I get to the end of my program here, the end of my algorithm, I should have a stack without any stars, and every time I saw a star, I popped off the last thing that was in the stack, the last real character that was in the stack. And so a stack is not a string, so a stack or an array, a JavaScript array or stack or whatever is not a string. So they want me to return the new string that I created. And so to return it, I need to take the stack and I need to I gotta remember this. I think in JavaScript is join, and this is what character I put in between each letter, but I just want to join with an empty character, and that should create a string. And so yeah. So I think this is right. It seems really simple. I'm sure it's simple for some. It could be hard for other ones. Yeah, somebody said you should split the characters, split function with the characters as the input. I don't know if I got a split. I think I can just loop these. I think I could just loop the string without even splitting. Like I think JavaScript already knows how to do this without splitting, but we'll see. Maybe it won't work. But I think JavaScript knows how to go ahead and break up the string without me having to split it up. But we'll see. Yeah. So what the next thing I was gonna do? Yeah. So like if I'm in an interview, some tool like LeetCode maybe not LeetCode, but sometimes they use HackerRank or they have some sort of executor that can execute your code, some sort of interpreter or whatever. But sometimes they just make you write the code and they just want you to explain it and run through it yourself. And so what I want to do is run through the code manually as if I was explaining it to y'all, as if I was explaining it to an interviewer. So what I can do is I can pick what I want S to be. Let's use the example that was over here that we expect to be LeetCode. And some interviewers will, like I think I did the Amazon. It was all the interviews I did at some point. It was like, I don't know. It was one company that just you never ran your code. So you always just had to explain it and you had to prove to the interviewer that it worked without actually running it. So one thing you want to do is like review your code. Like I'm using a stack here. I set it as const because I'm just adding to it. I'm not changing this assignment. The char is const. I'm not changing this assignment of string s. I think this should break the string up automatically into characters, but we'll see if I'm wrong there. And yeah, if char is equal to star, then I want to pop the stack. And maybe here I should check if the stack has anything in it. But I'm not going to do that. And this is why I'm not going to do that, because they said somewhere in here the input will be generated as the solution is always possible. And I'm just trying to figure out if it'll ever be a case where I don't know. That might be a good point. Like I might have to check this stack to see if it has something in it. Or I don't know if this will give an exception if nothing's on the stack, or if this will just not pop anything. But I'm just going to leave it the way it is because I don't want to add extra commands to my algorithm to make it have to run more commands. So I'm just going to leave that there unless I have a problem with it. So, but I'm going to keep a mental note of that. And then else, I'm going to push the character into the stack. And then at the end of my loop, I'm just going to join the stack together into a string. So, yeah, somebody asked Thundercat09, what's up, man? Stack removes the character before, why not after? Removes the character before, why not after? Ask that again. I'm trying to figure out what you mean by that exactly. And why are you popping from the stack? If you add into the stack, that's a good question. Because the problem says every time I see a star, I need to remove the last character, remove the closest non-character to the left. Basically, what these stars are doing, these stars say erase E and T. This star says erase D. Basically, these stars, you can think of it as like, you know, when your password gets hidden. Basically, these stars are basically saying hide the two characters in front of them. And so I'm building a stack with the new string. And every time I see a star, I pop the last character out of the string. See a star here, I pop the last character out. See a star here, I pop the D out. So that's why I'm doing that, like push and then popping stuff out. It looks like it's just randomly doing, but the only time I do a pop is when I see a star. So let's just run through this. I know this is taking a long time. Now in an interview, you have to go through this a lot faster. Like you couldn't take this long, but I'm trying to be helpful and explain thought process and stuff like that. It's the way you want to, more quickly, but the way you want to explain yourself to an interviewer. You wouldn't have to explain this much, but yeah. So anyway, yeah. So I have S here. I'm gonna what I like to do when I'm explaining, when I'm running through code manually for like an interviewer or whatever, or for myself practicing, I like to just like take a note of each variable and what like the values are. So I think the only variables I have is S, stack, char, and that's it. So it's pretty simple. So what I can do is, yeah, so it's run through each line of code. So maybe I can zoom this in a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, so let's run through each line of code. First, we get the stack, which is empty. And then we start looping through S. We get char, the first char in S, which is L. And then we say, is the char a star? It's not, so let's push it into the stack. So let's push L into the stack. And then we loop through again to the second character, which is E. Let's push, then it's not a star, so let's push E into the stack. And so we know for E and T, the same thing is going to happen. It's not a star, so E and T are going to go in here. So we don't have to like think through that too deeply. But then we're going to reach our first star here in this loop. And we're going to say if character equals star, we're going to pop the last thing in the stack, which is going to take this T off. And so now we got LEE. And then we're going to run into another star here. And I probably should have used the index for this loop, so then it'd be easier to kind of like track where you're at so you don't lose it. But it's pretty simple, so I'm not going to do that. But yeah, we got to the second star, so we need to pop again. Pop that off. And then we're going to run into a C, which is going to go onto the stack. So now C goes onto the stack. Then we run into an O. O goes onto the stack. Then we run into a D. D goes onto the stack. Then we run into an E. E goes onto the stack. Then we run into another star here. And we're going to go in our logic, and it's going to say if the character is a star, we're going to pop the last thing on that thing. Wait, I think I did this wrong. Yeah, I did. Sorry, this was supposed to be like this. I don't know how two E's got in there. So actually it was like this. So yeah, D, and then I run into this star here. It want me to pop D off, or my logic will pop the D off. And then the last thing we run into is an E, so that goes on here. And then it's saying, or my code is saying to return the stack all joined together, which I don't have a variable for that, but basically it's going to return this stack added together with empty strings in between, which would give me, oops, LECOE would be my last string. And if I look at the problem over here, LECOE is the right answer for that code. So this is a really simple code, but I mean, this is what you potentially would have to do in an interview to explain what you'd have to do or what you were doing, what your code does. And so I'm going to erase all this, and sometimes you are allowed to run the code, and right now we're on LeetCode, so we can run the code against some test cases and see if it works as we expect. So what it'll do is run it against the 2 test cases that are on the other side. And let me see if I can answer any questions. Thundercats and trying to figure out why pops a character before the start and not after the star, if that makes sense. Oh, okay, you got it now. Okay, gotcha. Let me see if anything on Instagram. I just saw it in 30 seconds. Well, good for you, man. Hey, good for you. That's what's up. Let's see if any more questions I want to answer. How often do you do these? Every now and then. If I'm interviewing, I do them like every day. If I'm like interview prepping, multiple every day. But like when I'm not actively interviewing, I usually just do them on live every now and then. I haven't been doing them for a while. This is my first one in a while. So, yeah. So anyway, let's run this with LeetCode. See what we get. All right, we got it accepted. For this input, we got LeetCode like we expected. The output supposed to be, expected output is this. We got the same thing. For case 2, erase, that had all these 5 stars and 5 characters. You basically get the empty string. So my code does the same thing. So yeah, I got these 2 test cases accepted. But before I did that, what I was supposed to talk about is the space and time complexity in Big O notation. So Big O notation, for those that don't know, is a way to notate what the efficiency of your algorithm is according to time and space complexity. So how efficient is your algorithm with time, with like amount of operations that it has to run, and how efficient is it with the space that it has to use as far as like storing variables and data structures. And this is according to your input. It has to be to some sort of input, some sort of variable that changes the amount that the algorithm needs to handle. So in our case, that variable is S, like the length of the string itself. If the string is 1,000,000 characters long, like in some system that has a lot of scale, and the string is 1,000 characters long or 1,000,000 characters long, that means this algorithm needs to process 1,000,000 characters, and it needs to be efficient enough to do so. And so in our case, like this string, the length of this string is how many times we need to loop. Big O notation, for any operation that isn't directly tied to the size of our input, to our like variable scale that we have, which is the length of the string, it is considered a constant operation, or Big O of 1. And so in that case, it reduces in our complete Big O notation, like our last judgment of it, it reduces. It's not applicable because it doesn't matter if, like for this stack that's getting created here, it doesn't matter if this length of this string is 1 or the length of the string is 1,000,000. This will always just, this line number 9 will always just run one time. So it doesn't really matter as far as our algorithm goes, as far as our algorithm can handle scale. And that's what Big O is trying to say. How efficient is your algorithm as the size of the input goes up? And so for us, the thing that most pertains to the size of our input is this loop. And it's basically looping through the size, the length of S. How many characters are in S, in that string S? And so if in this case above that I had, it was like 10 or 9 or something like that. So it would loop through 9 times. And so let's call the length of S, let's call it N. So in that case, this runs linear to the size of N. And so that would be, in Big O notation, would be like linear time, or Big O of N. Basically saying this algorithm, as it scales up, it will run n times. As the length of the string gets up, that's how many times it's going to run. These operations will run, of course, too, but since they're not directly tied to the size of the string, then they're considered like constant operations. Like they always happen the same number of times. And because anything inside of the actual loop here is still considered like part of the linear calculation, because even though it's inside of the string, these still only happen once inside of each iteration. And so we've already covered it by, determining that this was big O of n. And then this is still this join. This join actually, I think, I don't know what JavaScript does with this. I don't know if it has to loop through the string to put it together, or if it has some sort of other optimized way to do it. But that would, no matter if it does or not, like it would be an additive to this. So this would be big O of n. And then let's say this was big O of n too. Like this, however many characters in the string is how many, the new string is how many it would have to add. And so in that case, potentially it would be big O of n plus big O of n. And you have to kind of learn big O notation, but that would just add together to be like 2n, like big O of 2n or 2 big O of n or whatever, something like that. And in that case, the 2 still is a constant number, and it still would make the whole algorithm, the whole big O notation, reduce down to just big O of n. Now, if I had another loop inside of this loop, then it would be n times n, which would be a way less efficient algorithm as far, because that would mean for each thing that I'm iterating through, it would be a multiplied times itself number of operations. And so it's something to kind of get into. I'm just trying to explain a little bit here, but it's something to get into on your own, definitely. But basically, to come out of this problem, the time complexity, how many operations would run according to big O notation, would be n operations. So the notation would be big O of n. And as far as space, the thing we have here that is growing in relation to our input size is the stack. And so potentially, if there's no stars in the string, then that stack would grow to the size of its string. And that's one thing I didn't say. Big O is always measured by the worst case possibility. And so the worst case possibility here is that that string has no stars in it, and we have to add all the stars into the stack. And so our stack, if our string is 1,000,000 characters long, the stack will be 1,000,000 characters long. If our string is 1 character, then the stack will be 1 character. So that means it's also linear and growing linearly with the size of the input. And so the space complexity would also be big O of n in this case as well. So that's something you definitely got to learn and study. There's different big O notations. There's like quadratic, and there's other different like logarithmic, time complexity, and there's other ones you can learn. Typically in an interview, if you get big O of n, you're typically in a good space, unless they ask you to do something better. So yeah. I think that's it. The other thing I want to do is on LeetCode, they let you run the submission against, like, to see how it does against other, I guess, submissions, and to see how it does against all their test cases. So let me submit it and see what I get with that. So it's over here. So it's about in the middle. I think it's 50. It beats 50% of other people's submissions, which probably means that this is the common solution everybody gets. There's probably something better on 50% of the side, and there's something worse. But you gotta take this thing with a grain of salt, because this thing runs differently every time I run it. So as far as the runtime, and in the memory, it beat 80% of other submissions. And I think that's probably is why earlier when I was talking to you guys, I was saying that I didn't want to split this string up. I didn't want to do an extra check to make sure the stack was empty or whatever. Because each little operation you add, no matter how tiny, is going to add to either your space or your time or your memory. So I always try to keep it like super minimum, even if it ends up making mistakes, like just to make sure that I'm like always trying to program in the most optimal way, like with the least amount of operations. So, because it all affects it. So, yeah. So I guess I did good for that one, and I didn't screw it up too bad. I'm sure people maybe have some better solutions. But yeah, that's basically how you do this problem. It's called, let's see. Yeah, removing stars from a string. So what's crazy, this one's a medium. To me, it seems like once you do a lot of these, this one seems kind of on the easy side. But LeetCode calls it a medium. And maybe because it uses a stack, I don't know. And that maybe people intuitively will get confused trying to figure out that they need to use a stack here. Because when I first started looking at it, there's other ways you could do it. Like you could keep track of you couldn't really use indexes here. I guess you could keep like a while loop going until you got no characters left in the string, or you've processed all the string. And like actually remove these out of the string as you're going through it in place somehow with a bunch of variables to keep track of where everything is. I guess that's possible. But yeah, y'all let me know what y'all think. Like if any questions or anything like that. Let me read through the chat. Yeah, somebody said, so this one's easy. Hey, it's easy to some. I mean, hey, it's only easy if you've been doing these. If you haven't been doing these, I mean, it can be extremely hard. So if no string is read, the code wouldn't provide input. Oh, y'all talking to each other. Yeah, talk to each other, follow each other, argue with each other. All that good stuff is cool. How long have you been in the computer science field? I've been in for a long time, like 10 years. I've been working professionally as a software dev. I really didn't start doing LeetCode challenges to probably maybe like 4 years ago. Probably less, probably like 3 years ago. Because I started my career off and they weren't asking a lot of LeetCode where I was interviewing, so I didn't really need it early in my career. I worked for like the same job for like 6-7 years, and then I kind of got out in the industry and was like, dang, they doing this LeetCode thing. And so I had to kind of like break down. If you watch some of my videos, I had to break down and just like go back and learn it, even though I was already in the industry for a long time. And I'm not perfect. I got a lot still to learn, but I did get to the point where I was able to pass some FANG interviews and pass some big tech interviews that were like, it was hard, man. It was hard as hell. But for me to get to that point from knowing nothing really was big for me personally. What's the point of coding if AI can code for you? I mean, how you ask the question, yeah. I mean, if it's just plain coding, yeah, AI can do a lot for you. One thing I'll say, I've been trying to use AI at work, or I do use it. It makes a lot of mistakes. It doesn't always have the context if you don't prompt it correctly. And even when you prompt it correctly, sometimes it just messes stuff up. It just has bugs. Like I was trying to build a Chrome extension at work like the whole last week, and it just didn't know stuff about Chrome extensions. It just completely, that you installed a Chrome extension and it completely was wrong. And so and then the other thing is like coding is one thing, but software development is bigger than just writing code. Like it's sometimes the best code ain't the right answer. When you have customers, you have developers, you have stakeholders that it's not just about writing the best code. Sometimes it's about making trade-offs based on your current resources, based on what the customer wants, based off what the consumer wants. And sometimes you have to make decisions that like an AI, if not prompted, just can't make. And sometimes you have to see bugs in real time that like computers just can't see, and so AI is coming, man. It's getting smart and it's getting better eventually, but like right now, yeah, AI makes a lot of mistakes. Are you big in tech? What does that mean? Is it am I big like on social media? Are you in big tech? My bad, man. Are you in big tech? No, I'm not in big tech. I actually I had a couple chances to go to big tech and I turned them down. It was one company I was gonna go to. I'm not gonna say which one it was. Well, yeah, I'm not gonna say who because I don't know who's on here. But it was one company I was gonna go to, and I like turned it down and stayed at my own company for like a counter offer. They basically like decided to match the money, and like the next week they had, what was it, 20 or 30% layoffs. Like it was crazy. They had like crazy layoffs like the next couple weeks. So I was so glad I didn't go there. And then I had an opportunity to go to a FANG, and I decided not to go there either. So I kind of like, I don't know, man. For some reason I just stuck in this mid-sized company, and I have a lot of impact. I'm not just a cog in the wheel. I have like stuff that I do. I'm actually able, like it's stuff that I create and I'm actually using in my regular life, like with the regular products in my life, and that's cool. Or I might be out somewhere and see somebody using, I work in like for a chat company, and I see somebody use the chat that I actually work on every day, and that's like a great feel. Like, cause I'm like one of the higher contributors to it. I'm just not like just a cog in the wheel that's just, working on some little part of the platform, which that's not, there's people have impact at big tech too, but at least where I'm at, like sometimes the grass ain't always greener. So I work in the chat tech industry, so like chat boxes. So like if you go like to these big websites like Verizon or Home Depot or like Delta or like any of these like super big companies that have chat where you can chat with their customer service instead of calling them, we white label. And what white labeling means is like we built the stuff, but like they kind of pretend like it's theirs or whatever. What stack do you work in? Mostly JavaScript. Cause like the chat that is like, it's embedded into the web page of like T-Mobile.com or Lowe's.com or whoever these customers are. I'm not gonna talk too much about my job though on here. I mean, I got a good job. I love the company, and they provide a great service for other companies. I think that's the PR way of putting it. But I'm not gonna go too deep into the detail. But everybody knows who our customers are, and I don't think that's any secret and stuff. So let's see. Have a good one, boss. Hey, I appreciate people joining. John, appreciate you joining. Wish I worked for user-facing products. Yeah, that's one of the big that's one of the big things, man, like that I love. That's why I stayed at this job so long that I'm at. Just because it's so customer facing. Like I could be somewhere working on a back-end API somewhere, or doing great work, doing some machine learning stuff somewhere, and all that stuff is great, but like the impact that I'm able to have where I'm at now and actually see it, people using it, like family and friends using it, and people out in the world posting it, and it's just like, that's what I like, man. The impact of like knowing what I'm doing is making a difference. The software I'm creating is making a difference. Do you do work in C? I haven't done work in C since college, actually. That was the first programming language I actually... Oh, not C, my bad, C++. So now I have done work in C. I did work in C++. Was the lowest language I got closest to C. I did some assembly in college. That's probably a lower language than C. But as far as like super low language, like C++ was the thing I dove in the most. But it was back in college, so... Looking for a new career, interested in CS. Yeah, I recommend jumping into it. Don't let people scare you based on this AI stuff. Don't let people scare you out of it. Like, it's still a great spot to be in. AI is coming for everything. Like, because people got this thing in their head that like AI is only coming for tech people. AI coming for everything. Like, if you think if it's gonna take tech people's jobs, it's definitely gonna take everybody else's job. Like, it's gonna take a lot of people's jobs. I mean, unless you are literally in a trade like a doctor or something, or like you fixing plumbing or something like that, or you doing construction, like, then yeah, it's not, unless they start putting in the robots, because now it's coming from that direction. They're starting to have like robots being able to do the manual labor stuff too. So it's like, it's coming for everything eventually. So don't let that scare you, because like you should be scared to go in any field if you're gonna think like that. So I'm not saying you saying that, but I'm just saying that's a lot of what people get when they say, "Oh, you should join that industry because it's a dying industry." I'm like, shoot, that's everything, man. Oh shoot, dang! Somebody said the volume was lost on IG. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with IG. I'm sorry. See if there's any more questions. Thundercat, I appreciate the questions, man. Yeah, we'll definitely link up or DM me if you got questions. Let's get some more questions from somebody. Said hi on YouTube. Yeah, I'm on everything too, by the way. If you want to follow or like watch these streams on other platforms, I'm on everything else too. Love the content. Hey, I appreciate that, Antonio. Appreciate that. Any more questions? C++. What about C++? How you solve this question? The same way, you would solve it the same way, but you would just use different data structures that are tied to that language. And so that may be, I don't know, C++. The C++, shoot, I haven't used C++ since college. So I don't even know if they have a stack, but I know they have something. They either have a direct stack that you can use, or they have or you can use an array, or they have some sort of data structure that you could create or use to solve this problem the same way. And I know they got loops, and I know they have if statements. And so by that point, you're really close to figuring it out at that point. And they have methods, functions too. So my friends are stable working in this industry. Yeah. So it's a good industry to jump into still. Don't let anybody scare you out of it. SWE easily getting this job in this competition. Yeah, it's competition, man. And getting a job can be tough when you're first starting out. It is harder for entry-level devs at this point than it used to be a couple years ago. That is the case for sure. But it's worth it for sure. If you get into it, get that first job, then it's off to the races. Because it's crazy because it's more people that are entry-level, but it's a lot of people my age in the industry that just either have left. I've watched a lot of people leave the industry for different reasons, or it's just less of us that just are here this long. And so it gets easier as you get older, but just getting that first job, man. And in this economy, getting that first job in this market, it can be a little difficult. But there are some ways, like I got a lot of content that just kind of tries to help with ways to help with that. Getting jobs, making yourself stand out. You can get on social media, that can help. I've had opportunities through social media. Make sure your LinkedIn straight. Go to networking events. I just went to this Render ATL like a couple months ago, which was definitely a good place to just get eyes on people, shake hands with people, meet people. That, like, meeting somebody will put you in the front of a line more than probably anything else. Like, just simply meeting them. Like, you ain't even really got to know them. But just them simply have met you before and being at the top of their mind or the back of their mind or whatever can definitely help. So, like, in this industry, you got to start using tricks. You got to start using references and meeting people and shaking hands and DMing people. Like, you got to start kind of building relationships with people, because that's who's going to trust you. Like, just don't DM people just asking for a job. That ain't no trust. But you got to, like, go shake their hand, have a regular conversation with them, and then later on they'll think of you. They'll be like, oh, I know this dude that was looking for a job. He was real cool, So I don't know, man. Do you pay for these camps? I don't know. I guess you may be asking somebody else that. Yeah, create your own software that sells. That's what I'm on right now. I'm actually trying to create my own apps and services that I want to start. I got some stuff I've done in the past, but nothing that's made like a huge amount of money for me to like do it full time. So that's the dream, is to build my own apps and services that, I can kind of strike out on my own. I'm working on it, so it's in my content. Some of it I share, some of my apps and stuff, side projects that I work on. Is cybersecurity something you should go after? Yeah, and so that's the thing too. Like, tech is huge. Like, you can do this programming stuff, or you can just do cybersecurity. You can do IT. You can do IT support. You can do networking. Like, it's deep. Like, the stuff that you can do. Cybersecurity is probably like underrated as a thing to go into, because like, as the AI improves, it actually becomes like more, important to have cybersecurity and ways to defend against these AI cybersecurity attacks that are bound to start happening more and more frequently. And so, yeah, it's gonna get crazy. So, cybersecurity is definitely a good spot to be into. These companies are getting sued. Like these big security bugs are happening. These big security issues are happening. So, like, it's always a good field to get into. Data engineering, yeah, of course. Like, as the world moves on, we have more and more data. Processing that data and making sense of it becomes more and more important. Whittington, what's up, man? He said, what's KG stand for? That's my name's Kelvin. My last name starts with a G, so it's just KG. KG like Kevin Garnett, basically. He said if it's like Galore Geraldson, damn, that's a name, boy. Let's see. Data engineering because of AI, ML. Yeah. AI, ML data quality is huge. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good field to get into because of that. Mona Lisa said, I hate coding. Hey, I get it. I understand. But, I mean, when I was in college, I was an engineer at first. And then we took they made us take this programming class. And everybody hated it. They was like, damn, programming sucks. And I loved it. And I was like, yeah, let me switch my major to this. Because, like, this engineering ain't... Like, the way you feeling about coding, that's how I felt like about physics and stuff like that. We were like, doing engineering. We were building, like, toothpick bridges and stuff. And so I didn't get far enough to get into, like, the real engineering stuff. So I ain't... And I was like, man, what is this, man? Like, this ain't... I want to be, like... working on some stuff, but when I moved to programming, I could actually like start building websites and I could see stuff being built. Like I'm coding stuff and stuff is coming out of the other end. The early part of the engineering stuff, it was super theoretical, like, the gravity, the calculations with the gravity and everything was in a room without any friction and frictionless environment, then what would happen? And I'm like, there's no friction this frictionless environment is not on Earth. So what are we talking about? So I don't know. It was just, I didn't like all of the theory and stuff, but I didn't really give it a chance either. So at the same time, I got a lot of friends that's engineers and they love it and they do great things. But me personally just wasn't for me. So I'm glad I switched. Somebody said, yeah, get it, bro. No Diddy. Okay. Besides project, like, yeah, hate is a strong word. Any advice for a sophomore CS major? Yeah, shoot. Yeah, just keep, I guess that's what he said. Get it, bro. Yeah, just keep going. Like, I mean, did anything particular? Like, you struggling with the classes or, man, you know what? Like, I went through college like 10 years ago. If I went through college now with like all the YouTube resources and stuff, I don't even see, it's literally YouTubers, multiple like big time YouTubers literally explaining the whole CS, like computer science curriculum in like 2-minute videos, like explaining like Dijkstra's and all these different algorithms and all these different computer science like concepts that you have to learn. And it's like they explaining it way better than any professors could, and you can go and find resources that's tailored to you that's better than the professors. And so if you got a little bit of motive, like I would say that, like maybe if you're struggling, like start looking at resources online, YouTube, even like maybe there's a lot of free resources out there to really help you with your curriculum. Like you can literally do a whole kind of thing on the side of your computer science and that I couldn't really do back then. Like YouTube was there, but YouTube back then was cat videos and funny videos, and like it was just a lot more lot less informative than this, and so than it is now. So yeah, don't talk about Dijkstra's. I'm scared. I don't even remember Dijkstra's, to be honest. Only time I remember it is like when I'm going through an interview run and I just go back and brush up on it, but then I forget it again. Like it literally is not part of my day to day. So, but I know I had to do it in college, had to do it for an interview, and then I just forget it. Like binary search and balancing a tree, like all that stuff, man. It comes back up in interviews. Is the only time I kind of go back to it and touch it. I actually derived Dijkstra in an interview once. Never felt so powerful in my life. Damn. Hey, that's pretty good, man. That's pretty good. Like in an interview, like, yeah, that's pretty good. Some of these interviews, man, you'll surprise yourself. Like you get murked. I still get, like, don't let people fool you out here. Like, you still get murked on interviews no matter how long you've been in there. Like, you get nervous or whatever, or sometimes these interviewers, to be honest, man, they get full of themselves. They get on these weird things. These companies get on these weird things, and they just ask some stupid stuff. I'll say it. They just ask some stupid stuff that have nothing. It's like it. Even within the leak code thing, conceptually, what it's trying to get from you in an interview, sometimes they, what the heck is they talking about? Detected inactivity in your live. Like, heck is this thing? But yeah, sometimes they ask some stupid questions, and so sometimes you get caught with a hard problem. But when you solve it, you just like, man, that's what's up. I remember my Airbnb interview, man. They asked a question. This dude asked a question, man. This thing, it was a leak code hard, but it was modified so I guess you couldn't memorize it. And this thing literally took the whole interview. Like, they ask questions that take the whole interview. They don't ask no other question. They just start that question, and you got to do it the whole interview. And it was one that I knew the answer. I was working through it, but it just took so damn long to do it. Yeah, it was like a puzzle. It was one of those matrix problems where you, like a mouse in a matrix. So like a mouse is in a grid, and there's walls in the grid, and you got to like basically navigate the mouse to like eat all the cheese. It wasn't a mouse getting the cheese. That was another problem. It was like you navigate the person through the matrix, through a maze, and then there's doors, but you got to go pick up the keys first, and then you got to go pick up a key and then go back to the door and go through the door. It's almost like he was coding a video game or something. Like, and that thing, man, I knew I had done something like it and I was working through it, but it just, time was my enemy on that Airbnb interview. And I just ran out of time. I guess I hadn't done the problem enough to get really fast on it. And I'm like, this is stupid. Like, if I knew the problem, I knew how to do it, but it's just like, you can't do it in 45 minutes. I'm like, okay, whatever y'all, if that's what y'all think, man, then hey, it's cool. But then other interviews, I had harder problems and killed those. And so, yeah, I had an interview where, I had to, y'all know that game Minesweeper? Basically had to create Minesweeper in the interview. Literally the whole game. They kept building their questions up. Like, at first it was like, okay, just like do a little part of it. Like, but then they just kept building the game up to eventually it was just the rest of the game. It was like the literal game. Like, you literally had a website and it was just by the time I got done with the interview, it was straight up Minesweeper. And I was like, I can't believe I just did this thing. And then I did it in such a weird way that the dude was just like, he just didn't even, he's like, he never seen nobody do it that way. He just thought I was completely screwing up. And then when I got done, he was just like, oh, dang, I never seen anybody do it that way. So yeah, it's just, sometimes you surprise yourself. And then other times you just like, you crap out on the simplest problem. You just completely blank out. You get nervous or whatever the case is. You just, or you just get hit by an easy problem that you just never seen before conceptually. Like, and so a lot of this leak code stuff and coding challenge stuff, it's a lot of puzzle stuff to it. So anyway, I'm just talking now. What API can I use that has an AI like Siri that can speak for you for a website? I don't know of any API like that can speak on and then on a website. I don't think I ever heard a website speaking in like a form of like a Siri like AI. I don't know, man. I have to look that up. Maybe DM me. I have to try to look that up and see. I've never looked up something like that. Oh, somebody said mixing up ES5 and ES6. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's one thing about these interviews. Like what people do is that's why I tell people to like learn basics of JavaScript before moving on to the frameworks, because the frameworks have Webpack and Babel, these tools that help you can use all the latest stuff in JavaScript that isn't necessarily ready for browsers yet. And so what Babel can do is like compile it down to like pre-ES6 JavaScript that's compatible with all browsers. And so a lot of developers, they'll start learning the code and they'll just start with React or Vue or one of these frameworks. And then some of these interviews, they know that. And so what they do, like I had an interview, he said, use pure JavaScript. You doing it in Notepad, so you don't get no help, like syntax help. And he's like, make a component pure HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And like so, and I think it wasn't in the Notepad. This one, I get confused. There's so many different interviews, but like I had to run it, but it was like I couldn't use any like stuff that wouldn't work in the browser. It had to be plain JavaScript that can work in any browser. And so like you got to know this stuff. Like you can't just rely on just all the latest and greatest JavaScript features. So anyway. I've seen people try to like use import statements and like pure HTML files and stuff, you know, like they just get completely mixed up because they didn't start from the basics. So Vue mentioned, yeah, I love Vue. I love React and Vue, man, but I feel like I like Vue. It's simplicity, it's less verbose than React. I feel like it's easier to pick up, but React is they're both pretty similar. But React is like the king, so I got a lot of advantages in its syntax and kind of like its feature set. And it's got a lot of support, a lot of different plugins. And I've used React Native. Like if you watch some of my content, I use React Native right now for all my apps, actually. My voice starting to crack now because I'm talking a long time. I enjoy answering questions and just hearing from y'all though. Nah, man, Angular is better than React. Destruction Cat, what's up? So Angular is better than React? Okay, you must be using Angular a lot. Angular is probably the most learning curve out of all of them. So respect to you on that. But dang, boy, you coming out with like you swinging with that one with the Angular better than React. Hey, but I feel you, man. I feel you. Do another problem. I'm just talking now, man. I'm gonna start, I promise this time, I'm gonna start doing these regularly. What I like to do after them is like answer questions and stuff like that. And then sometimes I just get on here and do like Q&A. I mean, I guess I can find another problem to do. I don't know. But I think, I think Instagram timed out after an hour. So Instagram, I think is done. And then something probably about to time out and my voice about to go out. So I'm gonna wait till next time to do another one. But I got a bunch of content on my channel, a bunch of old leak codes. And I want to start doing these once a week. So for sure. But I appreciate that Bravo 90, man. I appreciate it. I'm gonna be back on here definitely, like more frequently now. How long has everybody here been coding? It's a lot of great, like Whittington, man. I've been knowing him on social media. I never met him before, but I've been knowing him on social media for a long time. Destruction Cat, I definitely remember them from somewhere on here. It looks like there's some people in here that got a bunch of experience. Like Whittington, man, he shares a lot of good content too on here. Got a lot of knowledge. There's probably people on here I missed too. I'm bad. Like I don't do this enough. I gotta get better at this. Like I can't follow the threads and stuff. So is Instagram just gone? Yeah, I guess Instagram just gone. But whatever. I need a stream key for TikTok. I just got my phone up here, which is stupid, but they won't give me a stream key. So y'all follow me, man, so I can get a stream key. I appreciate it. Just tap the whatever they say, tap the buttons and stuff, so I can get a stream key. That's really like I don't even care about the follows. I just want a stream key, so I can stop having to prop my phone up. Yeah. Oh, Levi is people. IG still here. Levi Dev joined on there, man. He's a beast, man, on all platforms. Levi.dev. He's been sharing a lot of, like, at least since I found him, he's been sharing a lot of cool stuff, man. So, cool dude. Thundercat09, been knowing him a while on social media. So, appreciate you being in there. And IG, hold it down for IG over there. But I'm going to answer a few more questions. I'm going to stop getting distracted. I'm going to answer a few more questions, and then I'm probably going to end it and get back on here another day. I'm going to try to start doing every Friday so I can build up like a regular cadence. How long have you been doing content like this? I've been doing these leak codes like on and off for probably like 2 or 3 years now. Ever since I went through like a big interview run in like 2022, I started going crazy on them then, and then I kind of slowed down because that thing will burn you out, man. Leak coding, like when you really in it and just doing them every day, multiple ones every day, it'll burn you out. What's all the companies you work for? So basically two. Like I work for kind of this like smaller chat company that mostly dealt in the automotive space, and then moved on to like this bigger chat company that kind of like deals with like everybody, like Delta, Verizon. See, I always forget the big names. It's like any of the big companies that got chat, we basically serve them. Like we actually do their chat for them, and I work on the actual window that you chat in, that you actually type your messages in to the customer service. I work on that actual box, which is pretty cool. Why did you do the stack.pop? So, I mean, I can go back to the problem, but it basically, the problem, every time you see a star, you need to remove a character. So basically the whole thing was like where's the example? You have like a string, and then you have stars in the string. And for each star you see in the string, you need to remove the last 2 characters. If you see one star, you remove the last character. And it basically turns it into like a string without the stars and without those characters. Like kind of like a process that edits strings. You know, who would ever do this in real life? No, but like there's probably something similar to it out there that you could apply the concepts to. And that's why they ask this stuff in interviews. But anyway, you had to pop. I used a stack to rebuild the new version of the string. And every time I saw a star, I had to skip I skipped the star. I don't add it to the stack, but I need to pop the last thing on the stack so that I could kind of like erase it, if that makes sense. So you to blame for those chats. I want to talk to real people. Hey, that's funny, man. Hey, we got like AI plugged into them, and people do get mad about that. They're like, man, I want to talk to a real person. I don't want to talk to no dang chat. Yeah, we definitely are to blame for the chat. Like straight up, like this company been around since 1995. It was like one of the first companies that did chat, so it literally is to blame. And why, like in the pandemic, these companies got rid of their chat centers where you actually, or call centers where you actually get on the phone with somebody. They got rid of a lot of them because of the pandemic, and then they just never brought them back. And it was like, we can use AI, we can use chat agents to cover it, or we can just like completely, just have AI just answer your question before you even get into the chat. I know it's annoying. We're trying to do stuff to like make it better. I'm not on like the AI teams or nothing like that, but they're trying to do stuff to make it better, to make it be more realistic. But yeah, I get what you mean, man. The chats kind of suck. Coding is a big field. Yeah, man, it's so many spaces you can get into. And like, I just like my job. I stayed there so long just because it's so public facing, consumer facing. And they treated me well, and I got a lot of impact, and get to see my product, get to use my products myself. I actually chat with like, support at Verizon and stuff, and I'm actually using my own stuff, which is cool. And they've kind of, paid decent, paid well. I'm not gonna go. I go into the details in some other videos about like how I keep my pay right. So I won't go into that here, but there's things you can do with that. Let's see. Any advice to getting other devs to join me in building my app? Ooh, that's a good question, man. Maybe I'll do this and do like one more question. Getting devs to help you on your app. We busy out here, man. Like, I'm working on my own apps. I got a full-time job. I'm doing content. I can't help. All these other devs, they trying to learn the code. They can't help. And yeah, you could argue that you're gonna learn while doing the app, but it's still a big ask to put on somebody unless y'all are friends. So like my suggestion is to like, if you have a friend or someone close that's comfortable with you, to get them to help you on the app, or start trying to post content online to get people interested and build up trust, and then they'll want to help you on their own. Or the other thing is like, if you're actually trying to build, like, are you trying to build an app to learn? It depends on your goals. If you're trying to build an app to learn, or you're trying to build an app to actually like have, like, you're actually trying to start a business with this app, then in that case, then my suggestion would be to pay, like save up your money, pay somebody to help you. Like, that's the only way you're going to get the best help, because somebody come and help you, once life get hard, they ain't getting paid, they going to leave. They going to say, I can't help. You paying somebody, they going to help. So, get funding, try to pitch the idea. Like, these are how apps are built. Like apps like Uber, Airbnb, and these big, huge apps that we know and love today, they weren't built just on a whim. They were companies that like had funding rounds, and so for us to compete with that, we gotta we don't have the resources to get that kind of funding all the time, but like we have to kind of take it to a serious level where we do have to maybe save our coins or build our own skills up or whatever the case is in order to get the app built that we want. So I could talk all day about that little point, though. I'll be running out of Python automation project ideas. Shoot. I mean, man, it's hard to. You got to be able to think of something. It's got to be something you want to automate in your life. And Python's a great language. It's got to be something you want to. Something else you want to like try to find. Maybe try to ask people on social media, or ask your family and friends if they have problems that you want to solve for them. You might be able to make some money out of it. You might be able to productize it and actually make some money out of it if you come up with something that people find valuable. So that's what I'm trying to do lately. That's the vibe that I'm on right now. I'm trying to build my own stuff. So do you have to remember every one of the codes, or is it like shortcuts to putting them in fast? So, you don't got to memorize everything, but honestly, when you're interviewing, you do need to have a lot of the syntax memorized. Probably most of it. At least as far as like here. Like, y'all didn't see me when I did this. This is simple, but y'all didn't see me have to go look up nothing, right? I just memorized everything. You don't have to have everything memorized, but like, it's not hard. If you do enough of this stuff, you start to remember it. Like, they make these functions for the most part. Some languages are weird, but for the most part, or all languages have quirks, but for the most part, these things are intuitive, like pop and push. You know what I mean? Like, it's not crazy stuff to remember. You do this long enough, you start to memorize the syntax. When you're interviewing, they're going to be asking you hard problems. If you still trying to remember syntax in the middle of your problem, you might as well, it's a wrap. Because it's like, that's a problem on top of a problem. Like, you ain't even getting to the problem you're supposed to be answering. You still in the problem of not even knowing like how to loop through a string or something like that. So I will say there is memorization to this stuff, but probably not to the level that you're thinking. When you get to a regular job, it's basically zero memorization. It'll make you faster, but like, you can, like, people are using AI now. Like, we always use Stack Overflow and Google stuff to pull syntax. You can go to documentation to pull syntax and copy it. Like, it's a lot of copy and pasting that goes on the job. But in interviews, you need to be fast. Like, easy problems, you need to be able to do them in 15. Mediums, you need to be able to do them on average in 30. And hard problems, you need to be able to do them in like 45 minutes to an hour. And so, like, you got to know that syntax and data structures like the back of your hand. So, yeah. Yeah, interviews should test your ability as an engineer and not a language. That's true. But, yeah, and so, yeah, like, because of that, that's so true. Because of that, you can't be getting stuck on the language. It's kind of like indirectly testing your knowledge of the language. So you better pick a language you're comfortable with. But it's like, yeah, it's like you're saying, it's like the interviewer don't even kind of even want to even think about the language. They only thinking about the problem. Like here, they're asking me to remove stars from a string. They're not asking me how do you loop through a string or how do you pop a stack. So like they don't even want to see that part. That's part of your solution. They don't want to see you like, oh shoot, how do you pop a stack? Is it pops or is it pops or is it pop or like whatever. Like they want to know that you can really code, like or really problem solve through the solution using the code that you have kind of like in your tool belt or the syntax in your tool belt and the algorithms and data structures that you have in your mind. So all right, man, my voice about going out, so I think I've been on here a long time. I appreciate y'all joining. I'm on all platforms. I'm gonna start doing this at least once a week. I promise this time. Please give a follow on any platform, y'all. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, X or Twitter or whatever, Facebook and YouTube, and Twitch, all at the same time. So you can follow me, go find me any of those platforms. I'm streaming to all of them. I'm posting content to all of them to the best of my ability. Connect with each other and stuff too. Like you never know what connection can be made in the comments. I see people arguing and talking or whatever, so that's cool. Connect with me, DM me if you have any questions. I'm here to just help share content and just help the community best I can, build up my space the best I can. So hey, that's what I'm here for. So I'm here to help. I answer DMs and stuff like that. So just hit me up. I appreciate y'all watching. Appreciate you chilling with me for a while to answer questions. I know people joined after I was done with the question, but I'm gonna get on here and start maybe doing like 2 or 3 problems in a row, maybe the whole time instead of just doing questions after. But the questions are helpful too. So I don't know, but we'll see. I'll start playing around with the format too. But anyway, I'm about to go. Y'all have a good night. I appreciate y'all and see y'all later.